Today, we're going to talk about how to change your life and 12 principles that have been proven as effective guides for the life-changing process. Long before common culture had access to the language that explains neuroplasticity or nervous system regulation, recovery traditions were already working with these 12 principles for rewiring the brain through repetition and rigorous honesty and relationship. And I do believe those principles are universal because they show up repeatedly in almost every spiritual tradition and in so many practical texts. 12 words that, when fully understood and mindfully applied, translate far beyond the rooms of recovery. But if you're looking for proof about why they work and how they work, I think 12-step programs can provide that proof very clearly. I've done a lot of work in recovery communities, and I'm entirely convinced that these principles can work for anyone in relationship to anything in your life that's out of balance. And we can apply them here to guide all of this self-exploration and set a clear direction and some structure for rewiring your brain. So today I want to talk about why these principles are such powerful brain training tools and start with why they work so well with the 4 modalities we've already been talking about in the Self-Study Foundations playlist. These are the 4 pillars for creating a sustainable self-study practice. Not separate, but working together in any order as a part of the brain training process. Setting intentions for what you want and directing the energy that makes more of what you want over time. Using some form of meditation to observe what's happening in your mind and in your emotional world to balance and match the energy of your intent. Using all kinds of prompts for reflection and mental processing to help guide your thinking with questions that clear your mind and set the path for what you want. And making sure that you're actually doing something to express and strengthen all those changes that you're making on the inside in the way you live your everyday life. You're taking action that stirs the new energy and provides physical proof of the change that you're making. So you're creating structure in your inner world that translates to making a meaningful change in your outer world. And these 4 pillars can be built to last with the wisdom of those 12 principles. Working from the ground up, starting with truth all the way down at the bottom to start setting a strong foundation. And building on that foundation with the first 3 principles working together to give you stability. Working with the next 3 as part of the transformation process. Taking everything that you learned there and integrating it, making it part of your everyday life. And eventually, all the way up there at the top, demonstrating this change that you're making by making a positive impact, not just in your own life, but in the world around you. And when all of those principles and all 4 modalities are working together, the structure is set, and you've got a template for a better way to live. Part of my job working for Foundations Recovery Network as a lead advocate was to interview people who had recovery stories to share. And while most of those stories did start with a moment of clarity that led to freedom from active addiction, the part that can inspire all of us is how these principles changed every part of those people's lives. And while I don't look at those steps as a staircase that everybody in the whole world has to take one step at a time, I really do believe that everybody could use a little 12-step wisdom. You don't have to identify with the recovery community for this to work. I believe we're all recovering from something in some way, and that we're all addicted to something, even if it's only to our own patterns of thinking. If you're human, you have patterns. And if you have patterns, you can train your brain to respond differently. The principles create structure and pacing to guide the process that leads to identifying your patterns and taking responsibility for what happens next. And in this system, each principle can be practiced through intention, feeling, thinking, and action. And if you apply them to create structure with those 4 pillars, the principles can change every part of your life too. The more you work with them, the more you practice, the more energy you create for making a change. And sometimes people tune out when I start talking about energy, but stick with me because all this applies in really practical ways. We can take those 12 words and the energy that drives each principle and make a correlation with 12 energy centers that relate to the physical body. And you don't have to commit this chart to memory because it starts doing what it's supposed to do inside you when you do the work. The energetic part of the practice is practical. It goes back to neurology and all that rewiring that we're doing. And we've still got our list of principles turned upside down here because we're always working from the ground up, starting with the truth of the present moment. And we can turn it right side up to talk about the benefits and start at the top to focus on the words themselves and the energy they create. Truth is always the right place to start, helping you step away from all the loud stuff happening in your head just enough to find a new perspective and see things as they are, hope for finding new energy, and surrender for creating new space. Working with courage, integrity, and willingness to move into new territory with new strength and a new attitude. Working with humility, love, and discipline to make a deeper connection with the true self and get a better understanding of true love and true power. All working together to create an ongoing practice that includes perseverance for training your focus, raising your awareness, and serving a greater purpose. And we can use them all to guide every thought process. These words hold energy, and when you study them and apply them to your everyday experience, things will start to change for the better. Everything that we're doing here is meant to help you get through the hardest part, and that's getting yourself to start doing the work and setting yourself up to keep doing it. It's all here to help you get started, especially if that feels like hard work, because it is work. And most things worth having do require some effort, and the inner work that needs to be done can feel hard to do sometimes. But there is no way to fail if you keep coming back to this, and the work does get easier. And I believe it's the most important work that you'll ever do because it's going to spill out into all of your actions and interactions, and it absolutely will change what's happening in your head. I believe getting to know yourself better and doing everything that you can with what you have is your mission in life. The principles put that initial structure in place. And it doesn't take long before the order doesn't matter so much because you're working with all of them together all the time and you're not doing that work alone. We're already doing that work together here, and you'll learn to start working with so many different parts of yourself. Self-study for self-realization is about getting to know yourself and studying all those different parts of yourself so they can all start working together to make something real. You start believing that you really can change your life. And once you've got that part figured out, you can make anything you want.